Well, since we're alone, might as well tell you about my 62 Chrysler Saratoga. I got this car a couple of months back because it's one of my dream cars. There are so many weird, quirky features about this car. I love it, like the mirrors down here on the dashboard, and the transmission is just buttons. There's no park in this car, no turn signal on the steering wheel. There's a lot of weird things about this car, but I'll show you that in a different video. Before we get to that point, there's a couple of things that I have to address. When you're in your 60s, you really start to show your age a little bit, and cars are no exception. But there's a couple of little details that I can address that are really going to spruce this car up a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to address is the floor. On the passenger side, right here, there's not a lot of support, and that's because there's a big hole. Every time I have a passenger, I have to tell them, please keep your feet over here, otherwise they'll go through and touch the road, like the Flintstones. I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't really looked into it, so I have no idea what condition that floor's in, but let's peel back this carpet and find out. So it looks like the hole is a little bit bigger than I thought. There's the floor, or that's where the floor should be anyways. Wow, that's a big hole. Oh, not sure where that goes. I'm gonna clean up this area a little bit and get rid of some of this dust, rust, and then we can see what we're working with. So now with this all cleaned up, we can see that the frame right here is absolutely solid, which is a relief. So thankfully the rust isn't structural, it's just on the floor pans, which is, you know, it's pretty thin metal. Also, we have this big rod right here. Some of you might be wondering, what is that? Well, this is actually my front suspension. So this car doesn't have like coil springs or bags or anything like that. This thing has torsion bars. So this bar right here, there's one on the driver's side too. You can tighten it or loosen it to make it softer or tighter, and that'll actually raise or lower down the front suspension. But this is my spring basically. It's called a torsion bar, and some trucks use it and stuff, but Chrysler, this is what they did in 1962 for their suspension. This is not a pretty sight. Not exactly what I want to see on a Monday morning, but there it is. So this is going to be a much bigger project in the future. This whole floor pan will have to come out and be replaced and welded in. But for the time being, I'm just going to do a temporary fix. So I have this cardboard here. I'm going to trace this out into a template to cover that hole. And then with that template, I'm going to take this metal right here, 22 gauge, nice and thick. And then I'm going to take these tin snips and I'm going to cut it out and I'm going to bolt it in. Before I start, I'm just going to clean it up a little bit with some rust paint. A little bit of cleaner surface to work with. Okay, so now I'm going to use this piece of cardboard and I'm going to try and get it into the right shape, and then I'll use that as a template and transfer it onto the metal plate. But you want to wear gloves when dealing with these metal edges because they can get pretty sharp. Now that I have it roughly in the right shape, I'm gonna have to finesse it by just absolutely beating on it to kind of get the curvature. I'm gonna have to really finesse the corners and kind of mold it into shape around all the edges. And I'm just gonna basically temporarily screw it down into place, get it into shape, and then it'll be plenty strong for the time being. I got these self-tapping screws, and I think that they'll do the job. Well, it's not pretty, but it is sturdy. That's gonna hold in place for the time being until this floor is properly repaired. I'll just throw a quick coat of rust paint on that, and then we'll cover it back up. And there you go. That's gonna be the fix for the day. Now, we cover it back up. Right, well, she's gonna need a really good vacuum now, but it looks a lot better than it did. Now this next point, I cannot stress enough. This is not a proper fix. This is just a temporary fix. It will continue to rust away over time until it's properly cut out and a new floor pan is actually welded in place. This is only for the time being. In the words of my good friend Taylor Swift, Band-Aids don't fix bullet holes.